Hello ladies, Sian Burton here, your marketing and scaling expert for women in private practice. I'm really excited today to share with you my step-by-step pathway from taking you from making $10,000 a month to making $100,000 a month and beyond. I've recently launched this with my clients and they were so excited to have a tick box list of what they need to do to go from wherever they are now, whether that's 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 a month, to 100,000 and 150,000 a month, and to do so with ease and with a business that is running smoothly and that they can step out of as they need to. And you might wonder how I can create a checklist of this and be so sure that it's accurate, right? But I've been running my Success Without Sacrifice program for nearly 3 years now. We've had hundreds of people go through the program and I can see patterns. So I can tell from what someone's telling me about their business and the challenges they're facing and how big their team is, I can pretty much tell within maybe $5,000 how much revenue they're making. Because as much as everybody feels like their experience is really unique, the truth is that actually the challenges you face are very common to other people in a similar stage of business to you. So if you're making between $10,000 and $30,000 a month in private practice, then you're likely to have 1 or 2 full-time people. You're going to probably be struggling with marketing because all the referrals are coming to you. You probably are just starting to figure out what your systems are. You're starting to think about who you might hire as an admin. You're starting to think about policies and procedures and start to navigate some of those small HR things that happen. There's then similar things that kind of happen between 40 and 60,000 a month. Then there's consistent things that happen between 70 and 90, and between 100 and 150, they're the same again. And I've observed this over the many years of working with women in this space. And what I have found is that when people come into the program and they come in at $20,000 a month, and they work with me and the team to systematically go through the things we tell them to build from, Kalonda, one of our recent clients, from $15,000 a month to $70,000 a month over the course of 15 months. When I looked at him, I was like, what did she do? What did we do together to make that happen? And the answer is she just did everything I told her to do in the order I told her to do it. And essentially we solved her 10 to 30K a month challenges. We got her foundation right. Then we looked at what she needed to do between 40 and 60, and then between 70 and 90. And essentially she just ticked the boxes. Over the course of the time we worked together, she ticked the boxes I told her to tick. So I was like, imagine if I could put that together into something that people can literally just have and just know that if they're at $10,000 or $15,000 a month right now, and they want to get to $1 million in 12 months, here's what you need to do. Like I had a lady last week called Sarah who joined. She's at $30,000 a month. She wants to get to $1 million. And I'm like, I literally have the plan for you. We're just going to work through the boxes. And the quicker you work through them, implementing them fully, because that's the thing, the quicker you'll get there. So it's really just a tick box exercise. And I want to use today's training to share that with you because I think it's really powerful to understand how easy it can be when you know what it is you need to focus on, but also to talk about why people get stuck at certain revenue points. So I very often see people come in and they're stuck at 40,000. That's a very common place to get stuck. Or people will be stuck at 70,000. Again, that's a very common place to get stuck. And you'll see, I'll share with you in a minute, the pathways that they're actually between bands of, they're like revenue bands, where going from 60 to 70 is difficult because you almost have to go back over everything you've done and change it because of that old saying, like, what got you here won't get you there. There are points in business where you have to shed everything you've been doing to that point and start to do it a new way so that you can continue to scale and grow. And people get stuck because they're not sure how to make those changes. And there will be a very obvious challenge, like one area where they really have not ticked all the boxes. And there comes a point where you can't just grow past it because you need to have the foundation in place to be able to continue growing. The most common place that happens is with marketing. So I'm going to show you this sheet so that you can check it out. If you'd like a copy of it, comment in the the chat below, and we will send you a link to a PDF of it. But you'll see down here, we have the grow level, then we have scale, and then we have leverage, and then mastery. These do relate to levels in the Success Without Sacrifice program, but they're still relevant across the board. And so here, this 40,000, this point, people get stuck here trying to transition between the two. This is where you have to stop being the person who generates all the referrals, and your team needs to start to generate their own. Otherwise, you can't move from here to here because you can't generate enough referrals on your own. People will often get stuck or continue to be stuck in the marketing piece. Like, you can get up here without having your marketing sorted out. I'll say that. But then we often see that this piece down here is the bit that stops people from moving from 60 to 70,000 easily and onwards, that the delegation isn't working well, and they're being pulled back into the business all the time. So they don't have energy and capacity to think about the things they need to do to grow and scale, because they're too busy being pulled into the day-to-day task operation of the practice. And then here, the most common place that people get stuck, and you'd have heard me bang on about this if you've been watching me for a while, is that they have a practice manager who is not up to the level they need them to be to move past this point. So they get stuck because their practice manager can't function at the level they need them to, and they can't help them move up here because they don't have the skill set and the knowledge and ability and confidence to do that. And so they chase their tail down here instead, and they get stuck here. So I sometimes have people comment on my ads like, stuck at 50,000, like, how does that happen? This is how it happens. And in order to keep moving through these levels systematically and with ease, you need to have your marketing working really well. So you need to have magnetic marketing. You need to have a thriving team, and you need to have scalable systems. If you've been on any of my workshops, you'll have seen me talk about these three things to death because they're fundamentally important. And this really just builds on those and starts to give like tick box exercises of what you need to work through to get there. So note that these are modules in our program. So some of these names may not make complete sense to you, but I'm hoping that you can kind of get the essence of what we're talking about. So, you know, we want to make sure that you have a complete marketing system in place if you are trying to grow your business from it being just a couple of therapists. I want to make sure you've got profitable pricing. You need to be tracking your referrals. These are the foundations of marketing at growth. From a team point of view, you need to have an intentional culture. You need to know who to hire next and when. You need to be able to have difficult conversations, because if you can't learn this skill early on, that's where you end up here, where people are walking all over you and your boundaries are not being observed because you're not having the difficult conversations. And believe me, it is very painful when you get up here and that is happening. Then from a systems point of view, you need to have profit first in place so that you're baking profit into your business, and you're not going to get up here and not be able to pay yourself. I've seen that too many times. You're starting to think about how you systematize your admin processes, and you're starting to document your policies and procedures. So when you have all these things ticked off and all these things are working really well, I can all but guarantee that you will be making $30,000 a month. Pretty much like clockwork. That's how it goes. Then you move on to thinking about the next thing. So you look at your website. How can we get that to convert more clients? You think about having events with strategic alliances, and you look at how you continue to get engage with your clients in an ongoing way. You onboard an admin manager to manage your admin team. You have productive team meetings so that you're starting to build some accountability in, and you learn how to recruit rock stars with ease. You then, from a systems point of view, look at how you delegate and what needs to be delegated to who to make sure that everyone's working to their strengths. You learn how to delegate really well, and you start to learn what systems and processes are going to be required to scale your practice. Those things all ticked off will move you to $60,000 and beyond, and you can then start to think about the next level of tasks. So to move from 70 to 90,000, which gives you $1 million business, that's where we start to think about paid marketing, so Google ads, those kind of things. Developing your brand so that you start to let the brand be known for something, and to start to have client information events, which is where you're presenting to your clients. You've got a big enough client base by that point to be able to do that. From a team point of view, you're hiring your operations manager, you're growing a rockstar admin team underneath that admin manager, and you're starting to develop reviews and professional development again to keep accountability and expectations front and center with your team. From a systems point of view, you are developing that feminine approach to accountability and expectations that we talked about with the team. You're creating really amazing customer service systems, and you're having a digital operations manual. So this is where everything about your practice is held in one central digital place for your team to be able to access policies, procedures, all of those kind of things with ease. When all of that is ticked and done and working well, you'll find yourself with $1 million business where you can then start to think about how you make your brand omnipresent everywhere. You bring on someone to manage the referral marketing. You have someone support your marketing team. So this would be people writing emails and doing website changes so that you're not having to do that. You start to think about workforce planning. So if I double the business, what does that workforce need to look like? You start to develop your leadership team. So this is adding in on top of your operations manager. Maybe it's a clinical director, maybe it's a people and performance manager, starting to develop that team. And you start to really hone your leader's mindset so that you can step up as the leader and not the lead clinician and not even really the CEO. We then look at how you leverage your lifestyle so you make a life that you really love, because otherwise what's the point? You need to look at the metrics that matter for your business so you're tracking the right things to ensure that you're as profitable as possible and scaling well. And then you put systems and processes around your culture so that you don't have to be the person driving that culture every day. You can go off and take 6 months off and the culture will not be lost because it is become systematized. When you have those things ticked off, that's where you see yourself with a $1.5, $2 million practice that you can choose whether you're in or not. And I know this to be true because I've helped practice owners at 2.5 million unpick back to the point where their practice is highly profitable and not consuming them in the way that it was at 2.5 million. And they often go to 3.5 in the process. So I know from extensive experience of working with people that these are the things that matter at each level. You can overcomplicate this, and I can share with people 70 different things that you could consider in your practice and implement, and different ideas and options and things, right? But like I said to my clients, the core stuff here, that's your Christmas dinner, right? That's your main meal that you need to focus your attention on getting through. There are other things around the room. This is like the chocolates and the nuts and the twiglets, for those of you that know what those are, and all the other snacky things that you can have if you want, as long as they don't ruin your main meal, because this is the thing that's going to sustain you through the day. The chocolates are not going to do that. They're just going to fill you up without giving you much substance, and are not going to be the thing that moves your practice forward fastest. So the only thing I just want to touch on here, because I know that somebody will be looking at this and thinking, well, what if you're making $70,000 a month, but your team aren't full? Like, how does that work? It really means that you need to come down here and shore up your foundations so that you can then move through the other parts to get to here. Because when people come in and they're making $70,000 a month in their practice, but their team's not full and they're working their ass off and they're not making any money, I can almost always guarantee it's because they do not have a consistent marketing approach that is generating consistent new clients into their practice. When they fix that, everything changes. And you can go a really long way in a practice without having that in place. I have a client who is up here who was spending $8,000 on Google Ads because she hadn't done this piece down here. Right now we're doing this piece down here. She's cut her ad spend in half. She's making $4,000 a month without doing anything. And we're able then to, focus on the things that matter up here. But it doesn't really matter what revenue level you're at. If you're working really hard or making no money or both, whatever level you're at, it's because something in the lower levels is not in place, not been fixed, not working, isn't working properly, or you don't have the right person in there. There's always a way to dig in and figure out what it is. And when you fix it, that's when everything falls into place. So if this makes sense to you and you're like, oh my goodness, ping, I wish I'd seen this 5 years ago, but thank God I'm seeing it today. And you'd like to explore more about maybe where you're stuck and what the challenges that you're facing, and how we might be able to help you to fix that in 2024, then you'll see that there's a link here to click a Feminine Way to Scale consultation. You'll catch up with one of my team. They'll go through with you where you're at the moment, get some information about your marketing, your team, and your systems to really see whether we might be able to help you with this and whether it would make sense for us to chat. And then if it does, you and I will catch up and we will go through your business with a fine-tooth comb and we will figure out where your problems are. We'll put together a plan and you will then know exactly what you need to do in the first 3 to 6 months of 2024 to make the change that you want to see. So if you would like a copy of this, comment below and we will share it with you. If you'd like to book a call, then check in the description, because you'll see that there is a link to book this call in. And I will look forward to hopefully seeing some of you on those calls soon, so that we can make sure that you have the most amazing 2024 ever, and that you rock your practice this year in a way that you have never done before, whilst having way more time off, making way more money, and enjoying your business again, like you used to back when it was easier than it is right now. So I hope that was helpful. I'd love to hear your comments on it. And I look forward to chatting hopefully to some of you soon.